Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back. My name is Mr. Reality, and I'm joined with psychic medium Liz Cross. So Liz, how are you?
Oh, doing very well, thank you. How are you?
I am very good. Thank you. I wondered if we could bring forth the energy of the Buddha.
Absolutely, very old soul.
And so when you talk about an old soul, hello, Siddhartha Gautama, should we call you Sid or Buddha? What should we refer to you as?
Oh, enlightened one.
Okay. Oh, in line one. Yeah, we can ascribe to that, I'm sure. Um, so what led you to embark on your spiritual journey?
What led you to your spiritual journey? Wow, he is very well, obviously, very, very spiritual. What in what it made you go on your spiritual journey? It was destiny. He knew that he would be the Buddha from birth.
He knew he have a incarnation cycle? I mean, I want to know if there were other lives that led up to becoming the Buddha.
Were there other lives? Yes, yes. I feel like he has been a Buddha, a spiritual leader in many lifetimes. This is his path.
Has he incarnated since incarnating as Siddhartha Gautama, or is that the as high as you can go on the human incarnation loop?
Ooh, is that the highest you can go? No, he's been back several times.
Wow. How many incarnations has the enlightened one had?
How many incarnations have you had? 750.
Wow.
As
That's
a
actually on par with brother Israel that we had before.
Oh yeah.
Um, so I want to know if he can explain what inspired you to develop the Eightfold Path.
Inspired you to develop the Eightfold Path. The Buddha was a medium. This is a download.
Was he psychic in the life as a Buddha? And did he have other people or entities or spirits coming to him?
Extremely psychic medium.
Uh-huh.
Very, very psychic.
Did he get that from his mother or father?
Grandmother.
Oh, okay.
Skipped a generation.
Did he remember other past lives when coming down as Siddhartha Gautama?
All of the past lives. He could access anything. He was a very, very gifted person.
Wow. So, can he tell us about the significance of the middle way and how it applies to daily life today?
Can you tell us about the significance of the middle? Now, that is something that he created. I feel like it's almost like a protocol. I don't know personally what the middle way is, but that's what it feels like.
Oh,
He
sorry there.
he, he he's developed this excuse me, he's developed a protocol on reaching this middle way, but it's letting go of everything.
How does it
And
apply? Go ahead, sorry.
no, 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 you go ahead.
In today's world, how can that be applied?
In today's world, how can that be applied? You like would literally what he's telling me, and I have no idea what we're talking about, but he's telling me is you would have to be off the grid and in nature, unmarried, unattached, no children, living a life of solitude. and awareness.
So that's hard to do for, everybody. Is
Right,
there
right.
any specific teaching that is available to us now, which we might be able to more fully and more easily embrace without going off grid and divorcing ourselves from our loved ones and family?
Are there any like small things or things we can do now? It's about creating time, making time, and dedicate time to remove yourself from daily life. So, how many hours a day? He recommends, how many do you? Sorry, he's slow to talk. How many do you recommend? 2 hours a day of just being one with source, right?
All
So
right.
it's about sitting there and giving gratitude, chanting. He's telling me connecting directly to source and forgetting about everything else. A lot of times he's telling me when we're trying to connect, we get distracted. Oh, I got to wake up. I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to run here. I got to run there. I have to pay this bill. Um,
Yeah, and
you
you could just
have,
do that earlier, wake up
mhm.
earlier too, that special time of the morning. Are there any spiritual leaders out there now that he thinks are maybe good role models or people to look up to for what they teach?
Spiritual leaders out there now. There's plenty, but they may not necessarily be attached to organized religion.
Right. Can you give us some names of people that he likes?
I just said, am I one of them? He said, no. Thank you. Can you give us any
Me
names?
either, I'm sure.
What about Mr. Reality? No, he's laughing now. Why? What is it that we're missing? A firm grounding. So, I'll have to talk to Mr. Buddha off the air about what he means by that. Can you give us any name?
What are some other experiences or incarnations that prepared you for your role as the enlightened one?
Good question. What are some experiences or incarnations that prepared you for your role as the enlightened one? Um, were you one of the first people on? I feel like he was one of the first humans on the Earth plane. Very first human, and that was a privilege, right? Because that was kind of an experimentation is what I'm getting, well, let's put a few humans in the mix and see if this works. Is this the way to fight the war? Because don't forget, we're just going further and further down the timeline, and the world is becoming ever more sophisticated. And so beings have to become more sophisticated. Not saying animals are not sophisticated, because they are in their own right, but human existence, animals weren't just doing it for it anymore, doing anything. They needed to create these complex uh, brains and capacity. So he was one of the first early humans. And did you evolve from any sort of monkey or ape? But yes, yes, he did. See, I've had that in so many CTT sessions where people have had past lives as apes, and that usually is one of their last animal lifetimes before they evolve into an early human. So
We got
that
that
he's just,
Coco is incarnating next as a human also.
yes, that's right. See, you have a good memory. I just, this stuff goes in and it goes out, but he's just confirmed that.
Yeah, and so did are interestingly, Can you tell us what time frame that was, as how many years and millennia and hundreds of thousands of years, millions of years ago that that happened? Because we have Lucy and we have other sort of proto-humans. What era is he discussing?
This is like millions of years ago. The first and humans were small. Like the first humans were tiny. They were, you know, they were virtually apes.
Yeah, Lucy was very small too, though,
Was she?
and probably would not have been perceived as a human, but small in stature. Can he go back to that lifetime and tell us some of the challenges that came with being a first human? Did he interact with the ape world, or was it you're now out of that world, you have new challenges?
The apes were actually far more powerful than the early humans. And so, therefore, the apes were quite dangerous. They saw the early humans as a threat. They also killed a lot of the early humans. So, was it dangerous? Yes, it was extremely difficult and very short lived, those lifetimes. um, Rarely made it into adulthood if you were lucky. What was the average age of death at that point? So the average age of death was probably at what age? It was probably 17, 18. So,
Wow.
but humans procreated, obviously. Yes, they did. And what age were females having babies? Some as young as 9 years old.
Well, that's a midlife crisis there. So,
Right, right. I mean, yeah, right. That's funny.
um, so in the modern era, Buddhism, does he see anyone else coming as another Buddhist figure?
No, it's forbidden.
By whom?
By whom is it forbidden? By the universe, the powers that be. Why? Why is it forbidden? Because they don't want another Buddha coming down and changing the wording. Every time
Right.
there's a new leader, they have to make their mark on whatever religion they are, I guess for lack of a better
Hey,
term.
there's a new pope. Hey, there's a new pope.
Yes,
Every 30 years.
right. And so what happens is, they have to put their stamp on the religion. Right now, is Buddhism in its purest form? No, it's been taken out of its purest form. But if you go back to the teachings of Buddha, the pure teachings of Buddha, that would be in touch with its purest form. But obviously, it's been watered down, it's been chopped and changed. And those ideals cannot keep up with an ever changing world. It's very difficult. Um, he says the world is in crisis. And I'm saying, why? We're losing sense of our morality. What's right, what's wrong, honesty, integrity, work ethic. Everybody's becoming lost. And I'm saying, has the world, in your experience, faced this before? Absolutely, hundreds and hundreds of times over. And it's almost as if the world has to reinvent itself, or those living on the globe, humans, have to reinvent the life.
How long does he feel we're in this age where the lack of morality, what's that cycle like in terms of the Buddhist cycle? So are we 30 years, 50 years, 100 years, 200 years until we see the next enlightenment?
How many years? That's a good question. How many years until we see the next enlightenment? 300 years. So we're really at the tip of we're just at the start here. And we're starting to really transition. Human transition periods are long, they're not done overnight. And it's almost like the breaking down of society, or what we thought was society. And it will be unrecognizable in a couple of hundred going into 300 years from now. uh it's anything goes, it looks like. And I'm saying, will we still have governments? Yes, we'll always have governments. Will we have a one world government? Yes. So at this point, we will be moving towards, will there be a one world government in place? They will still try to retain some sovereignty in the the nations, but overall there will be a one world government. And why did we get to this point? Is it about environment? Is it about control? And I'm getting, it is about environment. That's how they're going to push the one world government agenda, is using the environment to do so.
I call it a ferrative or faux narrative, but that's my own personal biases. I wanted to ask about this level of ascension that he is on now as an enlightened one. Is he a four, a five, even higher?
What is your level of ascension? And eight, do you have to come down on the earth plane anymore? No, no, he only had to come back a few times in order to just iron out the final creases, things that were unresolved. And I'm saying, in order to fully ascend, where we don't have to reincarnate on the earth plane anymore, do we have to resolve every single issue? And he's saying, yes, very high percentages of issues. You have to keep working towards ascension. Do not give up. It can and will happen.
Wow. What level was he on when he came down as Siddhartha Gautama?
5.
And so that next pivot, how many other five level humans are incarnated on Earth right now?
Very, very few. Uh, More than a handful. Yeah, maybe like 100,000.
Okay, that's pretty small, but it's still, do those people have an awareness inside of them that they are part of this very small few?
I mean, the souls are aware, but the conscious mind, no.
Can you give us a perspective on the role and the position of Earth within this galaxy and why it's unique?
Because it was directly created for us.
But are there other planets and other star systems that have like a forgetitarium like we do here on Earth to forget our past incarnations?
Forgetitarium. You're funny. No.
What's the point of it?
What's the point of the forgetitarium? In order to make you obedient. If you are fully in possession of all the facts of what this is and what is going on, you don't want to be here.
And so, of the entire, let's say, galaxy, Earth is the only unique spot where that happens.
It's the only opportunity. Yes.
And is he in communication as a level 8 being with other entities from out there, or is that verboten for him as well?
Communication with other beings. No, he's more, uh, is it forbidden? No, it's not forbidden for him, because there's a level of trust that he would never give his soul over to that side, right? He is still working on the ascension path. So, who do you communicate with? He's in sort of like angel high being, ascended masters, things like that. That's where he is.
And roughly how many beings are on that level? that he is on now, that had a path from Earth to his level. I mean, I know there were ascended angels, but roughly how many beings came from Earth and are at level 8 now?
There's millions, he says. There's quite a few millions.
Would
Three
you know them
million?
by name?
But you know them by now. Yes. Do you all have names for one another up there? No, it's almost like they're reading each other's code. So, if you had a target code or a code, XYZ 123, whatever, they can tap into that code and they know everything about you. It's all knowing.
How does that differ from the Akashic records of a person? Or is that the same frequency open book when you meet someone?
So the Akashic Records is more for the benefit of humans on Earth, not so much up there. They don't need the Akashic Records up there. That's for enlightened humans to access from the Earth plane.
Okay. Could he share some experiences that he's had in previous lifetimes that we might find humorous or amusing?
Um, he's had lots of lifetimes as birds, fish, but he had one lifetime in particular he's showing me where he was a little boy and he was catching fish with his bare hands. And he found that quite amusing. I mean, this is his own personal thoughts, feelings, and opinions. Um, because the fish would really fight to get out of his hand, and he's holding it. And as the fish is flopping around in his hand, it's getting him wet. It's splashing him. And he as a young child, a young boy, he would find that quite funny. But I'm going to ask him this. Doesn't that go against like what
Yeah,
Buddha
same I was
stands
thinking
for? Is
too. Yeah.
that what you were going to ask?
Yeah.
And he says, absolutely, it does. But he found this catching fish, a fish with his bare hands, quite amusing. I mean, I wouldn't say that he has this amazing sense of humor. I would say that as I tap into him, he is extremely serious, deep, and spiritual, deep rooted, firmly grounded, wise, knowledgeable. And I'm saying, but with intelligence, with that wisdom and the all knowing, do you find that humor tends to fade? He says, no, it's just my personality.
I had one final thought. I was curious as to the percentage of male human incarnations versus female human incarnations he's had.
Have you had mostly female incarnations or male incarnations? He's had a mixture of both, but which was more dominant? Male. So he's had more male incarnations than female incarnations. Um, have you had incarnations like LGBTQ? Several, several, and that was a struggle for him going into his past lives when those types of things were not acceptable, he says, and that was really hard because he had to work very meticulously on hiding himself, hiding his emotions, hiding his feelings, disconnecting from all sense of reality, and yet living with this desire to be with the same sex. But that was extremely difficult, and he couldn't wait for those lifetimes to end. He said it was torture, absolute mental, emotional torture.
I guess finally, what is the role of Buddhism moving forward, particularly as we enter this another dark epoch over the next 300 years?
The role of Buddhism as we enter this in the next 300 years. So Buddhism is going to see a resurgence. Is that going to be the main guiding force? No, no. It's the guiding force going forward is discovering your own spirituality and, living by the rules that your soul has set for you. Are we going to see more use of like ayahuasca, psychedelics? They will become mainstream going out 200-300 years.
All right. Well, Siddhartha Gautama, thank you so much for your enlightened chat.
Yes, thank you for putting this probe together. Don't forget, Mr. Reality has a tip jar. Show him some love. Thank you.
Love you all. Bye bye.